And these Rio 2016 Paralympic Games have come to their final day. And one of the final medals still to be awarded, it's in the wheelchair rugby, where we are seeing the two teams that will be participating in this, undefeated in the tournament so far in the 4 days of play. And this, on the 5th day, there will be one team victorious and the other will claim silver. It is the United States and Australia, number 1 and 2 in the world, who will battle for gold in the karaoke number 1 arena, all set for the teams to be introduced out onto the field to play, and the crowd building inside this 14,500 capacity venue. The tournament has been sensational from beginning to end. It is one of the last medals, as I say. It starts late in these Paralympic Games, and you look at the record, undefeated. The best are here and will contest for the gold.
Yeah, phenomenal record from both Australia and the USA. Undefeated. Who's going to continue that today?
So Australia come through Japan, who are number 3 in the world. United States versus Canada, and the Americans can win that one quite comfortably. All of these teams, and now on through the gold match, they've been into extra time in this tournament. It has been that tight. But this now a chance for the Americans to return to the gold medal position. They're the only team in this tournament since its inception in Sydney in 2000 to have won a couple of golds. These are the officials today. Pierre-Alexandre Briere, the Canadian, and Alexander Schreiner, the German referee. The Australians, they are the reigning gold medal champions from London. They have a couple silvers as well from Sydney, those initial games in the wheelchair rugby when they were finally recognized as part of the portfolio of these Paralympic Games. And then, of course, in Beijing in 2008, with this, the American side, led out by their captain, Chuck Aoki, will carry the mail. He will be the most reliable scorer. He equally will find a way to utilize his personnel. They've got depth, quality, they've also got speed, and they also got a little bit of hunger in this lineup as well. They're a physical team, the Americans. And Wheeler has been that player in the semifinal who has run shotgun with Chuck Aoki. He just came out a moment ago. There you're looking at number 7. That's their captain, Jason Regier. He has been around all the way back to that lineup that they had in 2012. He was a part of it, but this Canadian team is, or the American team has had a big turnover in their squad. Since 2008, it was Regier was there, a part of them, and Seth McBride in Beijing. But since then, wholesale changes, as there are 10 different players, and these two last ones, Brewer and Pudabaugh, they will be a couple to watch as well for the United States. So the U.S. officially ranked number 1 in the International Wheelchair Rugby Federation rankings coming into Rio. And these, the gold medal champions from London 4 years ago. It's the first time that they win a gold in this competition. As I said, they had a couple silvers before. That's their captain. There's Joshua Hose, who hasn't had a whole lot of time in this tournament. But there is the, you would say it, I think it's fair, the undisputed best player in the world, Riley Batt, the 27-year-old, number 3. He will be the player relied upon, again, if they're going to go to the top of the tree in this sport. And his running mate, Chris Bond, who just came out onto the floor, number 10, that's Fawcett. With the great facial hair, he will provide some duty. He's a lower classified player. And Matt Lewis, if Roddy Batt runs into a little bit of trouble, he's number 22. He'll come on as a 3.5 classification and maybe give some respite for Roddy Batt. But I expect it, as you see Lewis come across the line, that Roddy Batt will take the entire 32-minute allocation and maybe even more for the Australians today. The team's officially introduced, and now it's time for the national anthems of both of these nations. So the moments of ceremony have been completed. It's now one last shake of the hands, and full respect, they are already Paralympic medalists by right of being in this gold medal match. It's just the color of that medal still to be determined. As the Americans, as we say, top ranked coming in. The Australians with the World Championship title in 2014 in Denmark, and equally 4 years ago, those Paralympic Games in London. They're the gold medal champions. The best of the best are here.
The only thing to note in that build-up, in the national anthems, the Australians look incredibly focused. The Americans looked a little bit more emotional. You saw how pumped up at the end Brewer and Pudebert were. They both looked as relatively new players on this team, especially Josh Brewer, the youngster. They look like the moment might be getting to them, and it'll be interesting to see how the Americans start, especially how the team in green and gold start, because Australia looked really pumped. Riley Batt enjoying himself.
They must take their moments, and the Australian lineup right through, starting with Riley Batt, number 3. He can do it all. He's a 5-tool player out on this field of play. Chris Bond, number 10. They have options aplenty, but really the play will run through those two players. Brad Dubberly, a former silver medalist back in 2000 as a player, and then evolving into his coaching days. He has a great temperament and a feel for his team. He knows when to use them, and this is a moment, a signature moment is becoming. It's been adopted by the Brazilians. They do it at the beginning, they do it at the end. Will they do it as gold medalists again? The United States at the end of 32 minutes, or maybe more. This is the team to look. It's Chuck Aoki for the United States that is their real talisman. And right through that lineup, Wheeler, number 10, and then the two youngsters, both Josh Brewer and Corey Pudebert, the two players in their first Paralympic Games representing the United States in wheelchair rugby. They really bring great energy and speed, and they've got a little bit of that bite in the lineup. Batt, Scott, Edmondson, and Harrison. So they do not have Bond out there yet with Riley Batt. Riley Batt, though, is the cornerstone, the backbone of this Australian lineup. Aoki, Butler, Kahn, and Brewer. So different combination here from the United States that we don't see Wheeler out there, that Brewer will run and gun with Aoki. In green and gold, it's Australia. In the red, white, and blue, it's the United States. Everybody in position. It's just the opening tip, and we're underway. Brewer with that long left arm gets up and takes it away. The initial touch of it, it's into Aoki, and he buries himself down. You almost see him kind of hunched over, protecting that ball. Aoki is not the fastest player on the floor. He might be one of the most thoughtful as he comes right through this line and will score the opening goal for the U.S.
Clever play by John Aoki, that, as you said, Chuck Aoki, sorry, that he gets the ball just right in. No one can rip it off him, especially Riley Batt trying to reach around and come across to defend. Good start by the Americans.
One of the things you will see from Riley Batt, number 3, not only is he a great scorer, and if you've been watching, you will have seen lots of that. His defensive ability, he is relentless. He really goes after the opponents and tries to strip that ball at any given opportunity. He's already being triple teamed by the Americans.
Josh Brewer, though, the 20-year-old, comes into the tip-off against Riley Batt and wins it. That will give him a psychological boost going into the rest of the match to come up against Batt and steal the ball at the first opportunity.
It looks rather friendly at the moment in the center circle. They've just had to wipe the floor down here, and even as these athletes warm up to start this match, there's so much rubber left on the floor from their tires, and they're always trying to keep themselves warm and ready to go. This is rather paced, though, coming out of their own half. Edmondson puts it forward. He's going to have to track it with Brewer on his tail. He will just get the inside line, but Brewer has held him up. And he's now trying to force him out. He's trying to box him as they do get the play across, though. The Australians open it up, and it will be Harrison to level this game at 1. And there, a little bit of a surprise opening goal from Harrison.
Well, it was a brilliant line he took. He saw the space and just came through, and the pass was fantastic. Can the Americans get there for this one?
Oh, it's tight for Aoki. He just at the line will get possession of that ball. So the ball, as long as he keeps his wheels from crossing the line, he can stretch across and take possession of that ball. It's all about the wheelchair. That is where the entrance point is as you hit the tape of the goal line.
International debut in 2009. Not lost any, well, you said he's not the quickest player, but he showed there he's got some pace. Okay.
Riley Batts, he's got power aplenty. He'll barge right through. He's like a destroyer. And if you give him a little bit of room, his weight, his mass, and you see the size in his shoulders and his strength, he is a physical specimen, great core strength. And he just powers right through the American line.
Used Ryan Scott really nicely there as the guard and just burst past him, and America didn't really know which way he was going to go.
Very smooth and graceful is this young player. It's Brewer's first score, and both Aoki and Brewer similar. It's Puderbaugh that will bring the physicality equally in this lineup. Josh Wheeler will bring that for the Americans. But these two ball carriers, pretty smooth and calm right now. Riley Batt will just get the corner on Brewer, and from there it's a roll across the line and level it at 3.
Comes to something when you make Josh Brewer look slow, but he just eased past him around the right-hand sideline. 3-3.
And the inbound, a crucial part of wheelchair rugby. Obviously, after every single score, players must get it in, and with 4 players on the field of play, each of them with a classification from a 0.5 to a 3.5, depending on their level of function, is the lower numerical value. And Brewer right now is being hunted by Riley Batt, but he does well enough to just re-control that ball. He lost it for a second, and he scores and takes the Americans back in front.
Yeah, Brewer averaging 10.7 goals per match in the competition here at the Rio Paralympic Games, and he knocks the ball off of Riley Batt, and again, he's working Batt hard.
He's young, he's in his first Paralympic Games, is Brewer. And this opportunity to really run shotgun with Aoki, the captain, the 25-year-old, is a real nod from his coach Gumbert that he sees him as being a player that can get the job done here for the Americans.
That, of course, that sort of player back in Beijing 2 Paralympics ago. 2008, when the Australians went away with silver.
And he's still the youngest player ever to perform at a Paralympics. He was 15 in Athens in 2004. He made his debut in 2003. He's been the face of the sport ever since, and he continues to be it. He's still in his prime. He's in a hot spot here, but he'll release himself just as quick. He has a key for most any door the Americans will throw in his way today.
The Japanese looking on after their bronze medal. What a performance they put in. They gave too many options, and the Canadians just couldn't live with them in the end.
Aoki, again, it's a 3-on-3, and the hand gets up. It'll be recovered by Puderbaugh, and he is as hungry as Riley Batt. You can see the intensity in their eyes. They love to compete against each other. Batt probably the heavier of the two, but it's Aoki who comes through the line again and just keeps the American scoreboard ticking over, and they keep a nose in front.
The Americans got a stroke of luck there because the block went in, but the spin on the ball took it towards one of the American players. Riley Batt will no doubt finish this off. Oh, great support there from the number 14, Edmondson.
And Aoki is pushed out of the field of play, and so they allow that to be a score for Riley Batt. Rather than penalizing Aoki, he had been pushed out by the personnel. And there is the historic team, the Japanese, who came into this tournament ranked number 3 in the world, and they will finish as that, as the bronze medalists, the first medal they have ever won in wheelchair rugby. And it has been a special day already for them. Gumbert, very calm and resilience in how he will put together this lineup. He has options aplenty. That always gives a coach confidence.
Both coaches look much calmer than Kevin Orr looked in the bronze medal match. Is it pressure's off because they know they're going to get either gold or silver? But I just don't think that's necessarily how these guys think.
It's Puderbaugh, and he is on the racetrack there. He's gone full tilt, so much so that he can't keep his balance. And what a story for this young man. Born in Poland and makes the journey from the orphanage there across, adopted into the United States of America, and representing now his adopted country at these Paralympic Games. He has been a revelation for this lineup, and he is thirsting for an opportunity. The celebration from him that they know when they got through that semifinal matchup against the Canadians that at least the silver was here for the United States. He is hungry for gold, as Riley Batt will take this right back again. calmly hands it to the official. We're split in half with 12 points already scored.
32.8 points per game for Bat in the competition. 4 points already for him.
And the blocking effort from Pudabaugh against Riley Bat. You hear the chairs, full contact, wheelchair rugby. These have been designed differently than many other sports, these wheelchairs. They're reinforced. They've got the bumpers at the front for the more, well, all of them have bumpers, but the more agile players, the higher classified athletes, look for mobility, where the lower function players, the lower classifications, are looking for defensive blocking with the longer chairs. But Aoki comes across, and again, the Americans have been flawless so far with their possession.
Yeah, Aoki once more was innovative as he went forward. Gumbert getting animated, and that's a good finish by Australia.
It's into Edmondson, and he, the 26-year-old, he gets his opening goal of the match. So 3 different scores right now for the green and gold. And look at Pudabaugh. You wouldn't want to race him in the open floor, and you really can't touch him when he gets loose.
You wouldn't want to. What I was about to say about Corey Pudabaugh before he broke away was he'll be frustrated with his defence because he actually didn't manage to stop the ball getting away when Australia scored previously, but he responds in brilliant fashion.
Bat, before he is hit, releases it to Edmondson. Again, it's across the line, and they do have options. The good players know when they're being closed down and double teamed. Edmondson has been the release valve right now a couple of times for the Aussies.
Both teams pressing relatively high at the moment, which is why we're getting the breakaway goals in this passage of play.
So Pudabaugh comes on for Brewer, and he's just showing that he has speed to burn as he just darts up the floor again, and he is making it look easy. He's got a hat trick already.
Look at the American support, monopolising the support in the venue. This is amazing. Here at the Karaoke Arena 1, the US fans really, well, making their voice heard, but also making sure the flag is very much seen.
Harrison takes this feed, the 29-year-old. He's trying to find Bat. The difficulty is there are a number of other players there. The Americans have created a log jam here. And in this traffic jam, can they come out of it? They will to Riley Bat. It's the movement, and you don't need much for him. He can handle it in a phone booth, and he comes out and makes the right call again for the Australians.
Yeah, it really was a great call to isolate Lee Fredette, the number 15 for the USA. Bat knew there was a mismatch on pace.
Aoki just slipstreams in behind Riley Bat. He's the first defender back, and he takes that little seam and rolls the goal for a 5th time. He's leading from the front. Brewer with a couple, Pudabaugh with 3, and that the balance of the 10 already scored for the Americans. And it's Bat here with his first tire change. It's like pit lane right out there in the middle of the floor. It doesn't take much. They can do it with their own hand. They just take out the wheel, pop it back in.
Coach Gumbert looks like he's playing poker at the moment. He's not, I don't think he's yet played his hand either. You know, he's waiting. It's so tactical, this game. Both teams know that one slip up and the game can go away from you in literally minutes.
This is pass long, it's strong, and it's accurate. It's into Edmondson from Bat, and again, double digits now for both sides. And we haven't seen Chris Bond yet, that being held back by Dubberly, the coach for Australia. As we've already seen Pudabaugh, we have seen Brewer. Wheeler's still in wait for the Americans. I expect he will be out before long, as Pudabaugh has now got 4. And this, every time, every game, we have seen a different formula for the Americans and how they put together their 4-pack on the floor. You have to get the ball over the center line inside of 12 seconds. There's a total of 40 seconds available in which to score through that 8-meter wide line between the posts. And you can't occupy that area for more than 10 seconds if you're the offensive player. They're trying to force Aoki out. He held in there firm like a street post. And nothing going on, but it's to the backside. They've lost their angle here. And has he gone out of bounds? Or was it, in fact, a timeout? It happens quick in that area, but the Americans have been given credit.
Both Aoki and Chad Cohn, brilliant in defense there, but it just didn't quite come off.
So we just look officially at the play. It's actually a timeout for Scott. So of course the Americans were up by 1 and they tried to get that one in. They have a substitution of Bond now coming in and Erdem as well. Is this getting tight and interesting with the inbound? So this is Erdem to come across. 15 seconds still available for Australia. So this is for them to level with this inbound. They'll have to work quickly, and it's Bond that they'll look for. Erdem could just take it and moonwalk it across the line from there. Riley Batt now is in a little bit of a jam. Bond tries to open up things for him. Aoki matching Batt, and things are getting thick and fast in there, and they've, again, this is the Americans leaving, and this will be an interesting call. Is it going to be a penalty? It will be. The Americans will come across and serve a penalty. 1 second was remaining on the scoring clock at the time. And so this is the game of chess that goes on in wheelchair rugby.
And after some magnificent defense by Adam Scacchero, just slipping up in the last second. Got to keep your focus for the whole time.
So he leaves the floor as forced a little bit by the Australian pressure. And this last sequence here is now we're inside of 2 minutes in this opening period. Has been a couple cracks at it for the Australians, but the Americans have bent, but they have not broken yet.
Riley Batt racing over to the bench. Grabs something out of his bag. Is it some tape he's looking for?
Well, you can see the impairment on Riley Batt's left hand there. A surgery to try and separate his fingers. He really has limited use of fingers on his hands, but he's incredible. It almost seems as though the ball is stuck to his hand. He has so much core strength. He will wrap it, and very capable of taking it even with one hand as he reaches up. But this will be Bond looking for Batt on an inbound here. They have another 40 seconds on the scoring clock, and they're still just trying to get this 11th goal. Now with 4 against 3, it's pretty much a certainty from here that they will. But coming into this last 2 minutes, they'll think about these exchange of possession. That's been stripped, but it's Aoki who is actually given a foul. And this now, a 4-on-2 advantage. We see this very rarely in wheelchair rugby. So it's a certainty, it's all about use of time.
A real shame for the USA there, because they were working so hard in defense. They managed to strip the ball, but they did it illegally. Chuck Aoki joins the number 4, Adam Scacchero, in the penalty box. And Riley Batt will no doubt run a bit of time down here and then tie the game up at 11.
So they're an indication of just how hard at times a goal will have to be worked for. As Wheeler comes out, now number 10, and he is a score of double digits for the Americans so far in their opening 4 games. 10.7 is his overall average in this tournament. But again, the use of a timeout, as the Australians have been smart about trying to keep the play in this defensive half now for the United States.
Yeah, the USA really having to work hard in their defense against Australia there for a long period of time. Really having to keep focus, of course, losing the 2 players, making life very difficult.
So Aoki is still waiting to return to action when the Australians will score. If they do here, this is short-handed, and they find a way to get it back. They call a timeout, and what they're doing here is making sure that Aoki is going to serve the majority of this full minute in the penalty box, and Dubberly giving a low 5 to Chris Bond. They have the numerical advantage right now, the Australians, against the United States, as Aoki still in this penalty box. And with 1:30 remaining in this opening period, they want to squeeze the Americans here now, take the lead, and make sure that they have their nose in front at the end of the opening 8.
Chris Bond, the explosiveness of his pace is what grabbed the ball back for the Australians.
The referees just making sure that everybody is in situation and ready. This, the 46-year-old, all the way back to Sydney, is Naz Erdem. And he's one of the lower classifications on this side. He's a 0.5. So he has that longer chair, looking to strike and hold the opposition.
5 Paralympic Games. What an achievement that is. Going for gold once more for Australia. The American fans right to the last day of the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games, cheering their teams on. They've had a fantastic competition across the 11 days. In the team sports especially, they really have been quite unbelievable, the USA here in Rio.
Wheelchair basketball, a very big sport of popularity in the United States, and equally so is wheelchair rugby. They are the only team in this competition that has ever claimed 2 gold medals in the wheelchair rugby. Can they get a third today? The Australians, though, have been seen as maybe the form team with that World Championship title, and equally the reigning gold medalist. They are locked, though, in a vice grip from the Americans here, but Riley Bat using all of the allocated time before he crosses the line here with effectively 2 seconds on that scoring clock, and they are assured of getting the ball back with 52.5 remaining in the opening period.
Riley Bat scores a goal. Chris Bond, though, the movement from him and the blocking from him to open up the lane for Bat was just magnificent. Oh, what a run from the USA.
And this is Wheeler going cross-country in 4x4 action here. That's his opening goal. You see that he doesn't mind the tough going. He goes into the thick of this Australian defense, and he takes a little bit of the bite out of it. But this Bond will have to hustle to get over the center line in under 12 seconds. I don't expect they're going to hustle to score, though. You'll see just a second difference between the game clock and the scoring clock. And from here, the Australians can manage this, that they will get to a baker's dozen first and probably limit the Americans in doing so. So it's just really a half a second is the difference. But Bat now is running out of time. He's got to get going, and he's got a little bit of a problem. He's going to make a play, and it's forced, and that's what time and pressure will do to you. And the Americans were in good position.
Wouldn't the Australians have just been better to run a standard play in normal time, get the point, put themselves up, as you say, to 13. Instead, they forced it. The Americans were able to force the error out of the Australians. And poor Naz Erdem couldn't get near the ball.
There, the end, the horn for the 8 minutes of the first period. And it's in the books in the gold medal match. Australia 12, USA 12. And this will go the full distance, where neither side will give any quarter. It has been as expected. The 2 top teams in the world, undefeated so far. They are performing right up to their potential.
USA 3 penalties, none for Australia. Of course, USA at one point just 2 players on the court. Defensive fouls, they've had 3. They've turned over the ball once each. And the Australians stolen it once each. 12 all, of course, in the bronze medal match. We saw it actually was the first quarter which made the major difference in the game.
And a couple of different looks for the Americans and how they did score their opening goals. Brewer utilized Pudabaugh, Wheeler, and Aoki. Those 4, you'll generally only see 2 of them, so the combinations, they've just got a little bit more on their menu and a little bit more variety, and you wonder as we go through this match whether or not that will tell at the end of 32. Just a quick turnaround in between these periods. Just a 2-minute break, 5 minutes officially at the halftime. And this, another reason to party. It's been a festival atmosphere inside this karaoke #1 arena. It's been a Paralympic party indeed. And again, they are rocking the house here, keeping these fans entertained. They have a much to be excited about in this one, as it will be an inbound coming here from the near sidelines. And it's the Australians who will get that opportunity as Bond has come across. So the alternation of the inbound to start the periods, it was the opening tip taken by USA. They get that score, And now it is returned to Australia, who don't get the score at the end of that first period, but they do get the first one. Riley Batt across the line, and that's now his 8th goal.
Simplest of fashion for the Australians. What a way to start the second quarter. There was no sweat broken by Riley Batt.
And that now even more crucial, that play at the end of the first period that they don't execute. They would have been ahead by 2, and in this match, 2 could be decisive. It's from behind, though. Bond against Brewer. He unhooks his wagon, and you see Brewer still in upset on the floor. He'll need some help to get him back up right there, but they get around the edge. This is Brewer, who can corner on a dime, and then Bond comes in to make sure that he doesn't get away with the loose change.
It was fairly careless by Chris Bond there. You know, you could see that Josh Brewer had got around and he was heading for the goal line. And Chris Bond just was trying to help him on his way.
Brewer's up, he seems okay. And that the captain for Australia, Ryan Scott. But Bond will watch now. 4 against 3 for the Americans. Brewer looks back just to see what's going on behind him across the line. And what they'll generally do sometimes is make certain that the players and how they're positioned behind them, they're ready to either receive the penalized player out of the penalty box, or depending on how they can link up sometimes, they can get tied up and they'll allow the game to carry on for a while until officially then the referees will call for help. Look at Bond though. He is driving it like he's stolen it, as he will get slowed up for a moment, and then now across this line, and it's safely for another Australian score.
Chuck Aoki making the slip there. He was in to stop Chris Bond. He couldn't get the hit on the chair that he wanted. Bond more sort of kissing off the side of the chair instead of hitting straight on, and Bond getting around Brewer and then getting through Aoki's challenges as well.
So in and putting this into play, the 26-year-old Jeff Butler now being utilized. Effectively, he's got 5 minutes. He snuck those in quickly as Aoki equally now with this control. He's got 5 goals in this match. Brewer puts the cross block on Riley Batt, but it's a 3-on-3. And with the killer bees, Batt and Bond just lurking and waiting. It's over the other bee, though, for the United States, Brewer. And Bond with the reverse clutch tries to get to that ball, but they're going to count that as a score. And it will be the Americans to level.
Josh Brewer's having a brilliant gold medal game at the moment, really playing strongly. But the Australians just look that little bit more dynamic for me at the moment. I think it's only a matter of time before they edge ahead in this one.
Riley Batt converts the long service coming in from his running mate, Chris Bond. He's on to 9. And this is the 1-2 punch that really is going to, if they're going to be gold medal winners again, that is going to have to be relied upon for the majority of this match for the green and gold. Big hit from Bond. Or that was Batt, rather, into Aoki. The pass, though, into Brewer. It's an easy score for the U.S. to level.
It was an easy score, but Chuck Aoki had to work so hard to get around Riley Batt, and he actually made him look very ordinary in defence there because he turned on a sixpence and went, and that was what opened it up for Brewer. Simple score for Brewer, but well done, Chuck Aoki, to create it.
Aoki is the catalyst for this American side. He can provide the service there. You're seeing it from Batt, though. That's the rainbow over the top into Bond, and he gets a double touch of it. It's securely his second goal, and again, with the opening score of the second period, they just keep ticking over one score at a time ahead of the United States, and then the pressure back for the U.S. now. Brewer just spins out of that one, but he's lost it here. And he's now been picked up hard, and he'll turn it over. And we'll just watch here now just how they will assess this one, whether it's going to be a foul against Riley Batt, but he gets himself into trouble. He brings his head up, worrying about Batt, coming across to maybe lower the boom on him, and he does ultimately do so, but it's later than he was ready. He looked up, and he loses it, and that's how tight this game is, and that's what pressure does, and the physicality separating the man from the ball. And there, I think Brewer goes down hard. He's been shooken up.
Yeah, that was going to hurt. One little slip, the smallest slip, and Riley Batt did nothing wrong there, really. You know, he was in position to make the hit on Brewer, and Brewer was the player who his chair went out of control. And Brewer ends up on the court, and potentially in quite a lot of pain there. Australia still the 1-point lead.
So Australia get the inbound. It's a turnover. And with doing that, that's what physicality and wheelchair rugby will do. It'll turn the game around. It will force turnovers. It'll force mistakes and a speed when you know you've seen it as a player watching from the sidelines or being on the field of play. Bond or Bat, here is Bat trying to come into Poutaba, and then he's going to try to strip him as well. And they go in like sharks, the Australians. They sense a little bit of a vulnerability, and they get a smell of it, and they're across, and this is Bond. They play on the edge, and whilst that edge sometimes they cross it, enough times they create clearance for themselves.
Yeah, Chris Bond, third defensive foul, third time he goes in to the penalty box, and that discipline just needs to stay there for the Australians. They need to make sure that Bond's on court as long as they possibly can.
Aoki has already established the area he wants to be in. He'll take it across the line, and he gets the 16th goal. That's his 6th. So things have slowed down, as you can see, with the scoring. The Americans started things in the opening period, but we end with 12 apiece. And it's Australia with that inbound and then equally that turnover on the hit for Bat that are just that one ahead in the second period and overall, as Bond just gets his tire changed. And these little technical timeouts for equipment, they are great breaks for these players to reflect, equally doubly thinking about things as well. He's got the steel trap ticking over as he looks and scans across this floor.
Yeah, for the players, it's just a vital few seconds to get your breath back in such an intense encounter. Collect your thoughts. Chris Bond just pinned in at the moment. No doubt Riley Bat, there you go, helping him to break the press.
And Australia feeling the pressure of 12 seconds counting down. And the pass well crafted, in fairness, by Bond. That really is a rugby pass, the way he lateral it and get it out. And it's the one bounce into Riley Bat. But they need a timeout to make sure that they get across this line safely. And Dubberly almost looking stoic over there now. There really isn't a whole lot of a need to discuss things. It's just about a re-entry point to try and break this American alignment.
The thing is, it's going okay for them at the moment. They've got the ball, they've got the point advantage. They know what they need to do. They need to get it over the line. They've got Bat and Bond's pace, which is causing the Americans so many problems time and again, which is why the Americans find themselves potentially now 2 goals behind on this play if the number 3 and the number 10 can create the magic once more. Great pressure from the USA.
He's been locked there is what's happened. And immediately, though, you see the double touch of the shoulders. That is an equipment timeout. And I shouldn't question it, but of course there is a need. You can hear it as well, the popping of the tire. But it is one of these subtle parts of the game that you wonder if the players do utilize to their benefit sometimes.
The gamesmanship, a little bit of gamesmanship. It comes into play at this level. It does, you know, you can ignore it if you want, but it does come into play in all sports at this level. The Paralympic Games, gold medal at stake. This is a huge moment for these players. This is 4 years worth of hard graft.
It's Bond who's getting blasted by Poutaba, but he has enough speed to get across this line. They only have 10 seconds inside of that now in the scoring clock. That's how hard they've had to work on this possession. If they can convert, which they will, it's a big victory for the Australians to go ahead by 2.
Chris Bond, you are a star. It was not the prettiest of goals for the Australians. It took a long time, and they bow down to Chris Bond, and so they should.
Aoki over the top to Poutaba, and he extends with his arms. He controls it and settles it down. And the 22, it's the 20-year-old, number 2 for United States, with now 5 goals.
The goal for Poutaba. You wouldn't want to be hit by him, though. In that previous play for the Australians, he was smashing into Chris Bond.
Again, they're just creating enough of a delay for the Australians, but Bat has opened up this right lane, and across he will go. Once he gets a smell and he sees a little bit of daylight, he bursts with everything he's got. He's on to double digits. That's his 10th goal.
Yeah, the Australians managing to split the American defence so well and creating the mismatch for Riley Batt around Chad Cone. That
Pudabaugh safely secures that under his right arm. And we look back on this combination there, Erdem, who has been through all 5 tournaments, but Brewer and Pudabaugh, whether or not youth will be a factor, experience for these two sides, and this is bond again from Batt. That could be telling in a matchup of this magnitude.
It will be a relief to Coach Gumbert that Josh Brewer had an awkward few moments where he got hit hard, came out of his chair, but Pudabaugh comes back in and then just raises the bar once more for the USA.
Aoki surveys and looks as to how he wants to negotiate this Australian defense. And it's been a timeout called. And we'll just see, it was the Americans, the official, we will see it here coming across. And it was called not by the ball carrier, it was Chad Cone, number 12, who calls it. So 30 seconds, he could even sense that here in the second half of this second period, that the Americans must be perfect with each one of their possessions.
Yeah, one slip now and the game very quickly could go away from them. Riley Batt can be just so creative for his team, and if he sniffs any chance to grab that gold, it'll be a 5-6 point game.
So Jaden Warren in for his first action in this gold medal match. This is his first Paralympic Games in the wheelchair rugby. He is the 22-year-old, and you saw him there with the black headband. So he now with Jason Lees is out there, and Naz Erdem, they're in alignment waiting for the Americans. Aoki has just again found a back alley. He slides down it, and it is back within 1.
Clever by the Americans because they brought Warren into contact, and that created the gap for Aoki.
And Riley Batt again, his equipment, it's a tire that is blown. They do have the inner tubes inside of these wheels. You see the coverings on these spokes. If they didn't have them, they would be mangled. And that's what's happened here again, but he's having issues with his chair.
We all know that wheelchair rugby is such a physical game, but it really shows the level of physicality the Americans are putting in towards Riley Batt today, that he keeps having to change wheels and tyres so regularly. They are hitting him and hitting him and hitting him again and again and again. They're not letting him relax today as Warren breaks down court.
And with control, it's his opening goal for Jaden Warren. So he picks up where Chris Bond leaves off for a moment. And this is what the Australians can do. They equally have a replacement for Riley Batt should they need it. But Batt, I do not think in a gold medal match is going to be seeing this one from the sidelines. Pudabaugh all the way now across this line. And he has just taken a little bit of the pressure off of Aoki as he scores now his 7th goal. He's level with Aoki, and he really is bringing the offense now.
I'd argue in all-round play, he's been their star man today. He's outshone Aoki today, the youngster, the rookie.
Bourne is turning. He's going to try to go over the back, and Batt again has blown a tire.
You hear the hiss of the tire, the pop of the tire go. Oh, I'd be calling out for replacements.
And constantly, you'll see the replacements there behind the American bench on the big rack there. Every player with their own specific wheels, but they equally try to repair these inflatables inside the tires during the course of the match too. And you could only imagine if they run right through all of their equipment. It's not happened as yet, but he's gone through, I think, 4 different tires already.
Yeah, the mechanic must be earning his money today on the sidelines, trying to patch up Riley Batt's tyres. America a point behind.
And that's Fredette, who's out there, but he can't back up as Warren controls him for Australia. And that little bit of room, again, he'll burst right through the line. Riley Batt with 11.
Yeah, back with 2 main working tyres, Riley Batt. The pace of the number 3.
And US don't like the look of how this inbound was shaping up. It's Fredette who calls the timeout, the 33-year-old.
And of course, coming back from the timeout, it means they can set their own play in a more convenient way to them and try and break down the Australians.
Well, with 3:05 remaining in the half, this really is becoming a situation where each possession, you have to start thinking about how the score is going to shape out. Who's going to be bringing it in at the start of the third period as well, and this is where the real chess comes in.
Where do you think, if Australia were 4 points up at the half, do you think they're gone? Do you think they're out of touch for the USA team?
They're a front runner, and they are the reigning champions, and they're a team that if you give them too much room, they will try to run away and hide. Wheeler now is out for the Americans, and he is just warming up the tires.
That's just had another wheel again. Just had another change just at the end of the timeout.
And this will be stripped from the Americans for a second. Who last touches it, and it works in favor of USA. The strip of the ball is touched by the Australians, and Warren getting a piece of it. And this is deliberate into Wheeler. Wheeler attracts both Lees and Bat. Bat just tries to stretch forward and take it from him. But this is the first score for Chuck Melton. He with the Abe Lincoln beard for the United States. And he, with his first score, it's an important one to get it back within level and give a little bit of something different to this American look. So that means that Pudabaugh has come out. And it's still Warren as the number 2 to Riley Bat in control right now for the Australians. Things will slow down a little bit. Over to Bat, he will take it. He stretches beyond Aoki. It's his body control that is the difference there. And he's got a dozen.
22-year-old Jaden Warren into the game, and how controlled does he look? Not only scoring goals, but assisting Riley Bat to do so as well.
Bat had his bumper up against Melton there. He was trying to get away from Bat because Bat is relentless, as you see. He tries to reach right into your lap and take that $5 note right out of your pocket. And he is unable to do so in this situation, as it will be released down and for Wheeler across the line.
Wheeler, a player who's averaged 7.8 goals per match for the USA across the tournament. Currently just the 2 for the number 10.
Bat with a decoy, suggesting he was going to pass it. And this number 4 is the fingers going up from the referee as to what he's called. So Wheeler with the goal is the last official stat line, and it's going to be the Australians who get it. And leaving the field of play will have been the call there, and awarding just continuance, as Bat has just taken Wheeler and basically run him right into the turnbuckle, as this will be turned over and a 2-goal lead for Australia. And then they defend like demons, and they are going to try to bust this thing open before the end of the half.
Well, Jaden Warren set the intensity on the previous point by Riley Bat, and Bat turning round, following the number 23's example, came back down. And what pace and what power to stop the Americans. And this could be the turning point now of the game for Australia as we head towards halftime.
Jaden Warren has been the perfect complement to Riley Bat coming in, and look at this advantage here. And Bat is going to just ram it across the line for the green and gold, and they've got the wind at their back now. They're up by 3, and this is starting to look to be a problem indeed for the United States. He's hungry. He wants the ball again. It's like oxygen for Riley Bat. He's obsessed with it, as it will be left forward for the Americans to respond, to take it back within 2. And we see now Newby out on the floor. Eric Newby with his first goal, the 28-year-old.
What Warren has offered the Australians coming in with Bond going out. Bond was equally as creative as Riley Bat, but what Warren gives you, apart from his pace, is pure physicality. The guy is hitting everything at such speed.
And that's been popped around like a pinball machine. It'll come out for Aoki, and he gets the pop bottle and he'll snap it open, as it's kept available and alive for the United States, and that is crucial. It looked like it was loose ball, and it was a lottery, and it does not fall in favor of Australia. It's going to be Warren who picks up a foul on the play, and this a moment of a momentum change potentially. It's into Wheeler across this line, laid out in the open floor, but you've got Riley Batt who's going to ram into Newby, but he's heavy enough and strong enough to hold firm, and he keeps balanced across for another American score. They've got a 2-4 pack of goals.
Yeah, the US Rugby Athlete of the Year for 2013, sneaking past the world's best player for the point. The US back within one. Australia have their 4 players back on court, and Warren, a big player to be losing in their defence. We just highlighted how high impact he is and how powerful he is at hitting these American players.
So the inbound for Australia inside of this last minute of the opening half. And this is Warren. He has cut loose. He is going to just keep rolling as he got Aoki out though. Aoki is just on the tightrope, stayed in play, and Riley Batt is going to get across just before he nudges that right post.
That was so close for Riley Batt. I think he thought he was further away from the post than he was. I think he thought he had more time. And the American defence just came in smashing into him once more, and Batt just puts the Australians back into a 2-point advantage. They're not quite having it all their own way as I thought they might in the last few minutes of the half.
It's an official goal for Riley Batt rather than a team goal, where they will, of course, just give it as a neutral score for the team rather than assigning it for the player. He is deemed to have got across that line before touching the post and knocking it out of position. And a 2-goal lead right now. This is the Americans working from a tight sideline and goal line position. They'll advance it up for Aoki. He's got Riley Batt in tow. He's going to let him just get ahead of him for a second, but he's on him like a shadow. And things will slow down as they manage these remaining seconds. Aoki must bounce it or pass it inside of 10 seconds to keep it live. You see how close he is to the bounce. It's a double bounce with both hands right on it, but he's got enough players around him now to start to worry him. He's going to hand it in. It's the pass across. It's a good score from the Americans. Well serviced into Newby again. He's got a hat trick.
Newby took that brilliantly. Aoki concerned me for a second there because he was suddenly triple teamed, but he got out of it, but only just. America nearly let it slip.
16 minutes of the gold medal final of the Wheelchair Rugby has been put into the books, and it has been as expected. It was tight after the opening period. They were level. A little bit of room separated in the second. It's 26-25 at halftime for Australia over the United States of America.
And let's have a look at the match statistics. 1 point the difference. The Aussies have the lead. Defensive fouls 4 apiece. Turnovers very close as well. The Americans just 1 more for the game, and the Australians stealing once more than their American opponents. Penalties, of course, 4 apiece because of those 4 defensive fouls. This is going to be the closest of gold medal matches. The Americans look on nervously for half-time. So well supported.
In the balance, it's a short break as they will just rehydrate and prepare and convene with their benches. 14,500 the capacity. This was the host during the Olympic Games of the men's basketball competition. It equally had the wheelchair basketball in here, and then it moved across into the main Olympic arena next door in the Olympic Park, which is the largest indoor arena in Rio De Janeiro. This, though, has been a wonderful atmosphere as we look back across what we've seen so far, as these fans will be entertained by the in-house entertainment. And we will join you in a moment for the start of the second half. It's the Americans to inbound to start the second half. They are back by 1 against the mighty Australians, the reigning gold medal champions, against #1 in the world. Just as they would have wanted. It's out into the second half of play. And it's all there still for Wheeler, who levels it, deadlocked at 26.
Yeah, a player who plays for the Renegades club, doing his club proud, doing his country proud. Can the USA force an error here from Australia?
And that's great quick ball movement. He felt the Americans around him, and before they could get him into the clutches, he releases it out for Edmondson, and he has been that player today with 4 goals for the Australians to be that quick release valve for Riley Bat when he's been on the floor.
High press now from the Australians, trying to force the play from the USA.
Aoki with a good angled pass for Wheeler just to ride right into, and he takes it across the sunset. And there, another goal, and it has again been leveled as they share 54 goals already. And the way it looks right now, you'd expect to get through that half-century mark, both of these sides. That kind of is a barometer. Whoever can get to 50 goals first, generally with a good opportunity to secure the victory. It's been turned over slightly, and now some substitutions coming in.
And ominous for the Australians. Pudova, it looks like, coming back for the USA. There he is, the number 22.
Edmondson, the target for Harrison on this feed, and ultimately finds their #1 man. Riley Bat with this bit of control across the line. He bounces it, keeps it alive. Now he's moonwalking away from trouble. And he will just hold it into 3 American defenders. And he, again, I believe, has wheelchair trouble. And this doesn't seem to be an issue. He's been keeping mentally tough, but he's got to be getting frustrated with it, that it's been happening. And they bring on, he just needs a little bit of stickum, something that helps, I believe, to keep his hands dry. As you'll see his grip there, he fully bandaged up.
Say about him looking for, or potentially getting frustrated. I don't think he is, though. He seems to be completely level and completely calm. He offered up a smile even there. You know, it doesn't seem to fluster him, the amount of attention the Americans are giving him.
He's looked twice, the handoff inside, and the contact on the arm. Will they just award this as a continuous play? They will. Australia take the lead, and they're to 28.
Edmondson, the former rugby union player, able-bodied rugby player. He gets the point for the Australians.
Pudova will release it out, and here now for another score. It's number 12, Chad Cohn. This is his first goal of the day, and he just adds enough to just keep this game deadlocked.
Cohn, another renegade. He's doing the business for the USA. And the Australian bench once more busy. And again, it's Riley Bat. This is getting ridiculous. He's almost having a wheel or a tyre change every single play at the moment.
Well, you see what he's putting on his hands there. And that, I believe, is part of the friction with the wheelchair with his hand, and also part of the grip that he gets on the ball too. He has an impairment on his hands, and equally, as we said, he was born without legs, but he equally working hard to just keep retention of the ball every time and getting a lot of attention to his wheelchair, but he just keeps focused and keeps leading. This will be Australia to take this ball right in front of the penalty bench area. And they are in their back half of the court, still needing to get it across this center line. Bat with a short little pass. He comes down the sideline. He's going to be forcing it internally, and the Americans have taken it. This now, Aoki is going to try to cut loose. He will have to go east-west before he ultimately sends it north and up and into Pudova, who will take the Americans into the lead. And there, a little bit of a twist in the story.
Australia have taken Bond off, they've taken Warne off, they've lost their intensity. They've lost their ability to control the Americans and really force the Americans' game. And what ended up happening there was that man Riley Batt, and it's happened again, his game is getting forced because he hasn't got the outlets. And Chuck Aoki there, delighted to see the ball go off for the Australians.
It's a timeout called by the Australians. You saw Riley Batt indicate it's time to change it up as in comes the hammer, Chris Bond. But they'll have a think about it here. This a flip in the third period where the Americans now take the lead.
Bond coming into the game knowing at the moment he sits in silver position. He'll want gold. His partner Bridie Keane, Australian wheelchair basketball player, she had gold from London 2012. Australia gliders not competing here in Rio, they failed to qualify. But trust me, Chris Bond will want that gold medal. He'll want to outdo his partner.
It's into Aoki, but they're all within a 5x5 space there, meter-wise, and Wheeler is locked up. I think both Aoki and Wheeler have a problem. They're going to have to call timeout as they were in a convoy over there, and all of the room available. That's what happens with those inbounds from a corner position. And you can see a little bit of frustration from the Americans. They need to keep calm because they could give this advantage right back to the Australians with a poor inbound play here.
Yeah, they need to just, Coach Gumbert coming over and having a quiet word with them. They've got every opportunity. But as you say, it's about level heads. It's about keeping calm, not feeling the pressure. And the Australians will be very good at generating pressure as well. Some tense faces from the American fans. Hopefully the players aren't looking up into the stands at this point in time.
Aoki with possession. They have 25 seconds on their scoring clock. They have time, don't need to rush it, but equally they want to take advantage. They have waited for their little bit of a window here, and the Australians have shown a vulnerability. It's inside to Wheeler. Bond is stretching. It's over, and the back play is a beauty into Newby. And there the Americans, the first to 30, will go 2 goals in front.
Ryan Scott and Naz Erdem were doing all they could as we see Chris Bond break down court for the Australians.
And Bond has a half dozen in this game.
And that is the partner of Chris Bond, Bridie Keane, cheering on the number 10 for Australia.
Aoki, the Minnesotan, a degree in education, and he will just try and educate this Australian defense about how the Americans will attack as a team, but they have given it up. And that's the Australians holding firm, putting their wheels into a lock position, and they will not give another American score up on that sequence.
Look at what it means to the Australian fans. Australia creating the pressure. We'd already seen that the USA looked like they were feeling the pressure. Batt and Bond now will no doubt make them pay.
Batt is charging like a bull, and he will release it to his shotgun mate. They run in tandem, and they can, when they get into the open floor, they can dominate the game. They have in spells. It's been interesting how Dubberly has implemented Bond, but this now again, it's dead level at 30. Things slowing down for the Americans. They have been forced to be slowing down. Chuck Aoki can't get away. He's got an anchor on him, and that is Scott, who's making life difficult. Pudabaugh is going to come and work east and west, and he has got Bond on him like a rash, but it's Aoki who will take it across. What a feed to get it into him. You look at Pudabaugh without the use of his lower limbs, and then makes that pass after all of that good work.
And all with Chris Bond on his tail, constantly working his socks off Bond again and again and again and again.
Riley Batt will out-muscle, out-maneuver, and again take this American lead and control it with a 31st goal. He's got 15 of them, and these two sides are trading blow for blow.
You know you're quick when you can ease down past Corey Pudabat.
Aoki has to be careful. Bond is behind him. And he will have it as quick as you blink an eye. It brings about a foul, though, here. And I believe it's going to be Bond, potentially, as Fredette looks on. We're just seeing it's a defensive foul against Chris Bond. So he will make his way over to the penalty box. And substitutions now coming in. Wheeler will make his way onto the floor. And Bond will just cool his heels for a moment. So a minute or less. And most definitely it'll be less than that. They have 40 seconds on the scoring clock. And Aoki, in control, can reassert this American lead. All of this going on is just trying to make life difficult for Riley Batt. So he can't make a miracle happen and prevent Aoki from scoring. He won't on this play, as again, U.S. in front by 1.
The Japanese will be taking this all in. They know that in 4 years' time it's their home soil, and they'll be looking to upgrade from the fantastic bronze they won here. Wow, Riley Batt. Such speed, such pace, and Wheeler goes across and just welcomes him back onto the court with a little bump.
5 different scorers for Australia and 7 different scorers for the United States. This is Aoki. He is leading the U.S. with 9 goals so far. But this in the third period, other than the fast breaks from the Americans or from the Australians, the Americans have had to slow down. It's a good lateral play across the scoring area. But Aoki is coming to an area. It is the Australians that have left the field of play. And we're just awaiting the official. It's going to be, well, the last play on our system officially, it's Riley Batt who's going to receive the defensive foul. So they do not award the goal. Batt will just watch from the sidelines for a moment. 4-on-3, the numerical advantage for the U.S.
It's a shame for Australia there. Naz Erdam worked so hard to get across on defence, and it very nearly paid off for Australia. He may not be the quickest, but the veteran 0.5 classification player was really working to help Bond and Batt out, and eventually Batt just picking up the foul. Aoki will waste time to keep Batt off the court, and then the USA, I should imagine, there we go, will take a 1-point lead.
Aoki through the line, and that, the 33rd goal, a timeout now called by Australia as they start thinking about the last 2.5 minutes of this third period. And again, the tactical side of the game, as you see the discussion coming from the assistant coach into Aoki, they will rely on his mind and his ability to control the 25-year-old, the captain, joint captain with Jason Regier, and the Australians equally looking for an advantage here in their 60 seconds.
Surely the Australians have to think back to the second quarter. They have to think back to Jaden Warne, and they have to potentially, if it's not quite working out for Bond and Batt, which it's been working, but it's taken their time to break the Americans down, is Warne's physicality the answer?
8-6 the scoreline for the U.S. over Australia in this third period so far. 2:34 remains. And these timeouts are about trying to change those little subtle differences that will ultimately, at the end of 32, be a difference between gold and silver in the wheelchair rugby competition at these Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. A sold-out crowd, as that has been the majority of the matches in this one. Officially match number 18 as Riley Batt takes it across again. And we are with 3s right across the score columns on both sides.
No pressing at the moment from the Australians. Happy to sit back and protect the goal line and say to Chuck Aoki, come and get it if you want it. And he does, takes it. Naz Erdam couldn't get across anywhere near him in the end.
And the parting of a little bit of daylight there again for Aoki. He wastes no time. They tried that earlier in the game, trying to be so patient, and ended up at the end of their possession forcing a play. They're better the bird in hand rather than two in the bush. And this has been stripped from bat and right back to Bond. You talk about a boomerang. It goes right into the Australians as these two have a sixth sense for one another. And he picks up the sloppy play potentially, but it's been forced by Aoki, and that really is special.
How often do you see Riley Bat make a mistake like that? Very, very rarely. But he is human after all. Pressure does tell on even the great Riley Bat.
Aoki is well in front of Erdem. He will not have a chance to prevent the American score. But a little bit of good fortune on that last possession for the Australians. And you make your own luck.
What the Australians have to remember here, although they're a point behind, is when they've pressed the US earlier in this game, Aoki didn't find it easy at all. He found it better when Pudabar was helping him out, but he hasn't found it easy under the pressure of that man, Riley Bat, Jaden Warne. So they've still got that opportunity to put the pressure on the Americans and see how they respond. Will they do it, or will they just try and tie it up and wait for an error, or will they force it a bit more, the Australians?
Both teams utilizing an opportunity just to reflect, as there is not much time left in this third period, as you can see. We would go to extra time if it's required. 3 minutes of extra time periods, as Riley Bat out there being tracked by the Americans. They are sent to guard him even before the ball is in play.
That's a record in the gold medal match here, because Riley Bat hasn't had a new wheel in at least the last couple of minutes. I mean, it's phenomenal stuff from him.
He's getting shunted quickly by Wheeler. Aoki tries to match him, but he can't work as quickly with his arms, and the powerful pushing from Riley Bat again proves decisive. He has 18 goals, just over half of the output, as this is, again, both of these teams trading one for the other, and nothing in it.
Interesting stat though, Bat has turned over the ball 4 times.
It's been turned over, it's a forced play, it's been taken back by Wheeler. And that is, again, another piece of brilliant wheelchair rugby. Aoki gets it from Wheeler, Newby's out in front. Here's Bond, and he wants it right back. As nothing here, oh, to Aoki, he goes through inside his last minutes. And the Americans, they turn it over, they get it back, and they want it as desperately as the Australians, but they're in front by 1.
Well, there was no gap really for Aoki. He had no right to get through there, but he did. I just mentioned how Riley Bat has 4 turnovers for the game. And then Chris Bond, after the Americans are giving the ball back, turned it straight back over. Bat then brings it back to 36 apiece.
And in the face of adversity, they do keep calm. They've been level. Their coach exudes it from the bench. But it is going to come down to one hiccup at the wrong time. You can feel it between these two sides. Across this line in time, Bond will deliver the business. Wheeler will take the score as it's across the line, and he comfortable. He has 5 now in the match.
Wheeler part of that World Championship bronze winning team of 2014. Solid performance from him so far.
The angled pass for Bond. He takes it on an outward angle towards the near sideline and then comes back into the middle of the floor. He converts it, and he's got 9. And this just for Australia. They feel a little bit more settled with this combination of the killer bees out there. United States are going to insert, but time has in fact got away from them, as 24 minutes now have been played in the gold medal match, and nothing to be determined in the score, as 37 goals apiece. And it's the 8 minutes, and it feels like more will be required to determine who will be the best in Rio in the wheelchair rugby at these Paralympic Games.
Also had a tied first quarter. That one going a point difference in favour of the USA. Defensive fouls now, look at that. The Australians 6 to USA's 4. Turnovers 5 each. Well, there were sloppy periods of play in that third quarter at times. steals. 3 for the Australians, 2 for the USA. 1 more steal in the final quarter could make the difference in this one. It could be the difference between gold and silver. Pudabar has been magnificent for the Americans. Aoki has worked himself tirelessly. This Bond's defence and offence has been absolutely brilliant for the Australians, but he's going to need more in this final 8 minutes.
The US, in their 4 matches, they play 1 overtime game against the Japanese, and they win that one 57-56. The Australians had to go deep twice against the ultimate 5th place finishers in this tournament, Great Britain. They win that one, they win that one by 2, but they go tight against the Canadians, and they win that one to keep them with an undefeated record. So here, as we enter this 4th period of play, where will we get to? And whether we will need an additional 3-minute period. It was the Canadians who, against Great Britain, had that extra time period, and the Canadians got that victory. So we have seen a number of those matches already. This crowd in anticipation, already in full rapture, as the inbound is awaiting on the near side. Bond will come on the floor. They will present this opportunity now to Erdem, who comes across. So just waiting here as we'll think back for sure about who has this inbound.
With the game tied up at this point, 8 minutes to play, who would you call as favourites?
I'm not sure there is one. This now is going to be Bond. I think experience is always an asset in these situations. It is getting hot in this building. It is moving out of the winter months in Rio De Janeiro. And with this many bodies in here and the occasion, these players are going to have to keep a firm grip. It is going to be back into Bond. And the opening score of this 4th period, and their nose in front, that opening score is equally a great omen for the land down under. The Americans get it into Pudabar. Erdem, and that's a great block. He could get into trouble here with time. 12 seconds is all he has, and he's played it now. There is much better use of the ball. And they've taken it over though, but Bond has fallen and trying to do it, and it's still in favor of the Americans. And these are moments that you can hardly believe, because the Australians had forced the mistake and they can't take advantage.
The defence was unbelievable from the Australians, but Chris Bond, he was almost too keen. The US made the mistake. All he needed to do was roll over there, lean down and collect the ball, but because he was going for the hit first of all before he saw the error from the US, he makes the error himself, falling, giving the ball back to the USA.
There have been a couple opportunities in this tournament where players who have gone for the big hit have actually left opportunity still out on the floor rather than up on the scoreboard. And Aoki has been measured and calm in all that he has done so far for the US. He's thinking about a handoff here, but he's going to have to maybe come back around again. This is a play, and they've got new scoring. It's actually the second one for Chad Cohn, but they have taken a little bit of pressure off of the leading scorers in doing so. Bond well out and gone on a fast break score for the Australians, and they take the lead. So it has been crafted by the US and quickly created by the Australians.
Such hard work from the USA to get their point. Cohn picking up his second. The US just unable to contain Chris Bond. Man from Brisbane, 30 years of age.
Aoki across this line. And the responsibility each possession for the United States just to level. That is an increasing pressure. It's the Australians who actually go out of the line first. They're going to allow the immediate score And Aoki, whether he gets given credit for it or not, is irrelevant. They're going to give him credit for it. Sometimes, as we say, they will give that as a team goal, but it's irrelevant. Both of these teams are locked again. And the whistle coming from the referee, not giving that opportunity for the Bond pass to be received. They will allow the inbound. It's actually a foul. It's come by Chuck Aoki. So in the offensive half, he makes contact there with Bat, and they blow it before it even could be completed.
To lose Aoki at any point in this fourth. MVP at the Canada Cup 2016. And that's what it does. It just gives the Australians, well, they're going to waste the time and keep Aoki off court for as long as they can, but then Bond takes the point.
The first to 40 for the Australians. And Aoki will return. They'll use a timeout here. 6:22 left in regulation in the gold medal game from Rio. The two best have gone stroke for stroke against each other. And they are coming to the end of the line. It will ultimately be decided by one mistake. You can feel it. And both of these benches know it equally as well.
Well, they're two very different teams, these two. The Australians seem to have a lot of pace, a lot of power, but at times today especially they've made unusual errors in their play, which you wouldn't really expect them to make. The Americans, the likes of Chuck Aoki, he's a real thinking man's player. He moves the defence around, not as quick, not necessarily as powerful, but just somehow he's deceptive. He gets in and he gets goals where you almost don't think there's spaces he shouldn't get through, which he does. Slippery.
Wheeler, who sent that long pass up to Aoki to beat the Japanese in extra time, makes this inbound here to the captain once again. They are across the line here comfortably, 30 seconds on the scoring clock. And you think about that play again, that long baseball throw. It was really the Hail Mary to keep this American team undefeated in this tournament. Will that be a part to play in the remaining passage of this one? Aoki has burrowed his way through the Australian defense again, and this, again, right side by side, these two teams.
Ryan Scott, who's defended really well for his team today, the Australian, as we see Riley Bat get slightly lifted up in the air. But Scott's the number 11, and he's worked really hard for his team in defence there. He just couldn't, he got drawn over and he just couldn't quite get back in time to close the gap and help Bond and Bat to keep the Americans at bay.
3 players on Riley Bat, and this the tactic that has been set by the American coach, James Gumbert. They can't control this though. That long service in, and we talk about those long throws, they will at some point come to become a difference in this.
What handling skills though there from Riley Bat, a man with impairment on both hands, a ball over his head, and okay, he didn't take it cleanly, but the control to knock it down and then gather it as well. That was some skill from Riley Bat.
It's Wheeler to control it now for the United States. And he's got a good central line. He might go after this goal line from here, but Bat is there. So is Erdem, but it's Aoki who records it. And Aoki calmly delivering the goods for the United States. He's got 16 goals. And the distribution, of course, across the 7 different scorers. Riley Bat with that little dip and a turn as he weaves, and he records it. He will take himself now through to 21.
We spoke about a bit more power as we see Wheeler on his back on the court. A bit more power and pace from the Australians, and you saw Riley Bat there ignoring Aoki. Aoki tried to sort of almost swing at him. Wheeler tried to get there as well. Chris Bond just sent him out the side of the chair. Don't pick on my mate.
And they have each other's back, do Riley Bat and Bond at all times. And if Chris Bond could run you out of the arena, he would. But of course, that's not a part of wheelchair rugby. Just out of bounds is sufficient, and he knocks Wheeler down as his running mate Bat will take the lead with that 40-second goal. The Australians wait in the scoring area. And they are gonna just wait like sharks, and they will try to bite you when you get a little too close. Aoki out to Wheeler. Bat senses it early. They've got a cross block on him. Bond now. They're inside of trouble range here. They've got 3 and 2. And this is a force play. Time and pressure will do that to you. And the Australians execute it perfectly.
Well, I think there Ryan Scott and Naz Erdem may have just won the gold medal for Australia, because their defence on Chuck Aoki kept Bat and Bond free, and it meant they could really pressurise the US attack. The 2 low pointers for the Australians have just had a huge say in this final.
Here he comes again, the battering ram. The Batman has just scored, and this a flicker of real belief that the Australians have done enough to keep in front of the Americans now. It's Wheeler who will turn it across the line for Aoki. The service inside. Well played by the Americans, as that is as much as you're going to see of quick ball movement, and you've got to recognize that play there. It'll be a score from Chad Cohn, and he's got a hat trick, but that's exceptional ball movement from the US.
Yeah, Cohn, who was a motocross accident that led him to take up wheelchair rugby. He's had a great final, he really has. It'll be a shame to see him on a losing team, if that is how this final finishes. 4 minutes 5 though, still half of the last quarter to play. Australia, though, have the point and they have the possession at the moment. 6-5 in the fourth to the Australians.
Chris Bond is awaiting patiently for the Americans to return. They're in this timeout, and it looks as though they've made an adjustment. Poudaba is in a position there with Cohn. Fredette also there. And Aoki, likely the 4 to be returning to action for the US. So a little bit of a switch. And the Australians are waiting. And they're on the cusp. It's a 1-goal difference in the gold medal match. But at this point, that might be enough as they go back and forth. It's a steady and deliberate approach from Australia now. Bat will go right into the snarl of it. And he just offloads to Chris Bond, and they make it an easy score.
We saw Erdem down the other end doing some vital defending, and there helping Chris Bond, blocking the American defence out. Poudaba couldn't get near, Bond went over. Naz Erdem is having a great few minutes.
Erdem, a member of that silver medal winning team in Sydney 2000. He did it with his coach, now Brad Dubberly, as players. He's still playing and relied upon by the coach to be out here executing, as Poudaba has just come out. He's got his 9th goal for the Americans. You see him immediately. His speed is so obvious, and he's got a goal, a keen and an important one, but it's his defense now. He's going to have to run and gun here with Riley Bat and create a little bit of disruption to what Bond and Bat have been doing over the last few minutes. But they can't. It's a glancing blow, and it's the patience of the older player, number 3 for Australia, 27 years of age, and such great experience now at this game. It's a comfortable 2-goal lead right now. Aoki is going to run out of room. And they've turned it over. It is Riley Bat that slides into the side of him. The post was there. Aoki, I'm not even sure if he knew how close Riley Bat was.
And the Australians, Chris Bond's twin there, Simon, in the crowd supporting, know that that could be the play that clinches it. If Bat can get there.
He's not going to, but he'll go right through the end of the building and into the photographers for a moment, and he'll come back as he burst through the line, and he had everything that he was going to bring to this match in the offer right there, but he was just $1 short of that purchase. and they will have to be content with only 2 goals to their credit at the moment.
The Australians didn't need to do that. They didn't need to force that play. Could be a big sit. They could look back on that if the USA here managed to sneak back into this. And Josh Brewer returns for the first time in a long time.
Brewer and Pudabaugh, rather than Aoki, are out on the floor right now, looking to take responsibility in this last 3 minutes of a gold medal match. This is a real compliment from their coach that they've had to go to plan B. Brewer is going to bring the foul from Riley Batt, and that will pull Batt off, which will ultimately almost be 100% certainty of an American score now coming up.
With Brewer's height and Brewer's pace, it will open opportunities up for Pudabaugh, and we've seen how quick he can be. Riley Batt doesn't want to be sat there for too long.
It's the lob over the top to Pudabaugh, and he's just going to try to pull a few of these seconds off of the clock. This is heady stuff for the youngster. He's across this line. He is taking it in his moment. And there's nothing about those eyes that suggest this is something that he isn't ready for. He's now got a double-digit scoring total for himself today. It's 10, and he goes right to Batt, and he will be on him like Brewer is right now on Bond. Double teaming Bond. He goes high and up. It's Batt who takes that into his shoulder. That is incredible to secure that. Oh, and he almost Pudabaugh takes it from him. Will they call a penalty? And they're just going to give it an automatic score to the Australians. They go back up by 2. And they're the Americans. That's why they're out there. They're a little bit more assertive. They're a little bit more energetic in their defense.
I don't think the shake of the head from Riley Batt was at the referee. I think it was more the nerves of I nearly let that one go. What a take again from Riley Batt, though. Taking it over his shoulder, up high. This is amazing, amazing. And the Australians get the ball. Riley Batt with the hit.
It looks, though, like they're going to call a foul on him, that he has hit him and spun Pudabaugh. And it looked for a moment like Pudabaugh had gone over and back that center line, and that potentially could have been the call. But you see the exhale from Riley Batt, and he expressing that he's astonished by the call. It's a fair enough call as he just catches the back of the wheel of Pudabaugh, and this has kept the Americans still in it. It'll be Brewer that catches the immediate score, and it's back within 1, and here comes the Batman back into action.
What a story for Josh Brewer. Born in Ethiopia, lived on the streets of Ethiopia before moving to the USA, and now here in a Paralympic Wheelchair Rugby final, going for the gold, and he's chasing Chris Bond, and Bond's going to take the goal.
And it's a huge one, as you hear from the crowd. The Australians believe now, inside of 2 minutes, with a 2-goal lead, that they could have, in fact, covered enough ground in this gold medal final to be just beyond the grasp of the Americans.
Aoki back into the game for the USA. Well, it's time, if he's going to really have an impact on this final, the next 2 minutes, career defining.
Aoki is into the middle of the Killer Bees. He's gone across to Brewer. Brewer with control of his wheelchair, making sure to receive that. And he gets his now 6th goal of the match. And can they force a mistake on the inbound? Bond was going to go long, but he just gets it to Batt. And they are now in their own defensive flanks here, having to work. And they've turned it over. Chuck Aoki will take this for the United States. And this, a blemish for Riley Batt. Up to Brewer, and we're level at 47. And this is now turning into drama for the U.S.
Turnover number 5, Riley Batt. And he gives the point away to the Americans. He has to snatch one back at the other end, but that's because he's chasing the point he just gave to the team in white, the USA.
Riley Batt comes right back, and he scores his 24th goal and corrects what was just a little bit wrong for a moment for the Australians. But this is going to come down now to possession. And Aoki is with the ball for the U.S. He has now drawn up the Australians. They won't just hold and wait for him. They will apply pressure. He's got bat from behind. He's got to get away from him. Bond was going to allow it open. It is going to be Bond that leaves the floor. And are they going to assess it as a penalty against Bond? It looks to be. It's a defensive foul. And they will be 4 against 3, the Americans, in this possession. The inbound, the ball is live. And into Aoki. That was Butler who made this play. Scott and Erdem, they can be a nuisance with those long chairs. They've got Aoki anchored for a second, but he scores it, and it's 48 goals apiece. And that half-century point of 50 goals, again, proving the potential decider.
You called it to the T. You said 50 goals will or should win this game, and it almost certainly will win the game. Who can get it's a race to 50 at the end of the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games.
And Bond will burst through with 38 seconds remaining in this fourth period and reestablishes the lead for Australia. And it all comes down to a final possession, and there's maybe more in it. It all depends on how well this inbound will be taken. Brewer is the intended target. He does take it, and he is silky smooth with those hands. He gets away from bat, and he will just take a little bit of a long road. It's the country road, but he doesn't need to score so quickly. Aoki comes up to support him. Erdem is in, and the players are needing, it's an equipment timeout here. So you talk about drama, as this is Bond, who will get one more wheel before the end of the sports period. You never know if he needs another one, but the Australians may have done enough here. The Americans, now the pressure on them to score.
Aoki was the man that made the break, but the low pointers for the USA, their blocking was second to none there. They really caused headaches for Bat and Bond.
It is going to be deliberate. It's very patient from the U.S. They must score in order to go to extra time. Right now, though, they are silver medalists. Time is getting away for Aoki. He's passed it to Brewer, and they'll level it at 2.8 seconds to go in the fourth period. Still enough time for the Australians to respond, and 50 goals again. They're going to be quick. It'll be Bat to throw it forward. It's into Aoki, and we're going to go into an extra period in the gold medal match. United States and the Australians, 1 and 2 in the world, have gone the full distance of 32 minutes, and they're dead level at 49 apiece. We'll have a couple of minutes pause, and we'll go to 3 minutes. Whoever is ahead at the end of 3 minutes will be the victor of gold. If they're tied, we'll keep going.
Look at those defensive fouls for the Australians, up to 9, USA just 6. Both teams turning the ball over though, 8-7. 3 steals for the Australians, 4 for the USA, and who would have thought it? Josh Brewer brought out of the game after he blinked against Riley Bat, and he comes back in the dying seconds with just 2 and a bit seconds to go to bring it into overtime for the USA. What a performance from the young American.
Incredible poise from the captain of the U.S., Chuck Aoki, who could have taken that score with Brewer with about 20 seconds to go in the fourth period. They elect to control it. They come back. There's an inbound. And at 5 seconds, they were about to take silver as a certainty because there looked no way through the Australian defense. And then Brewer, with that body control, receives the ball in time, and you would have hated to have been the official to have called him with his 2 wheels across the line before receiving it. It's drama now in overtime.
It is drama now, and minutes ago it was the Australian fans were up and they were shouting and they were cheering, and it was obvious and visual for their team. Now they look over to their fans, and who is it stood up making all the noise? It's the Americans. They've got the flags waving. The Australians are slightly shell-shocked.
Both teams have enjoyed the lead in this match, and it has been exchanged so many times that we have lost count. But we are set to go into the first overtime period, and it will determine a victor. if they have a lead at the end of 3 minutes. If we are, as we say, dead level, this will be a jump ball to start this overtime period. An opening tip, rather, as it will be Riley Bat and Brewer in to take it. Brewer will get it to his captain. Calmly, Aoki back to Brewer, and for a second you're just focused on Aoki, and then Brewer just opens, comes around the end, and he, a youngster with experience and poise beyond his years, puts it into Aoki to open the score. The first of 50 is the U.S.
And Scott back to Bond, and Bond just breaks away. Look at the pace of Brewer trying to strip the ball away.
And he goes in. It is just the left arm. He has the impairment on his right arm, does Brewer, and he tries to, with all of that propelling with his arms to keep up with Bond, to reach in there to get that ball loose, but Bond is strong enough. He controls it. But this inbound, they're going to go to Brewer, it looks like right now, to just change this feeling to the possession. Aoki will support him perfectly as a number 2. He's opened up enough room. He goes to 51. It's the Americans with the lead now.
They've got the momentum as well at the moment. Brewer has come in and he's made a huge swing in the game for the USA. The momentum going the way of the team in white, and I think they might be about to get the ball hit.
It's gone to a held ball scenario and the possession arrow. And the Australians will make the inbound on the near side as the benches of both of these nations watch with so much anticipation and anxiety. It's untrue. Bat takes that out of the foot of his wheelchair, that front bumper, and Bond takes it back from his running mate, and he will level it at 51. 2 minutes and 12 seconds remaining in a gold medal possibility for these two sides. There's possibly more still to come. And this is the tough part about these last possessions. Just when you think that might be the difference, there's one more still in the offer. They're going to try to hunt down. This is going to be Bond to take the contact on Cone. He's turned it over, but Brewer's right on him. Brewer is right there like a flak jacket and making sure that he's protected from what looked to be a turnover for the U.S. And the timeout taken by the Americans to just reset the decks ahead of this next possession. They've got 25 seconds remaining on the score clock available to them, and they will do their best to utilize as much, but it's about when their moment is open, they must take it.
Bond and Bat, to me at the moment, look rattled. They've got the pace, they can unpick the Americans, but what the Americans are doing at the moment is they're slightly outthinking this Australian team.
It's a different construction to this U.S. side right now, with Brewer out here in his first Paralympic Games, his first gold medal final, and he is just holding and waiting, reading off of the captain Aoki. He's going to create a little bit of a movement here. He's poised inside. He's got 10 seconds in which to be in there. Aoki's got no room there. He does to the inside to Brewer again, and what a dynamic performance we are seeing from Brewer.
Brewer was free way earlier in that play, and I thought Aoki would find him. He didn't. He was patient. He took his time. Chris Bond breaks away, evens it up.
There is absolutely nothing in it, as Bond will score an 18th goal. These two sides are capable of countering the other, but they're going to come across the finish line here soon. It's 1 minute and 37 seconds away in this extra time. Dead level at a pack of cards. 52 points aside. Aoki, calmly as he did before the end of regulation, he'll control proceedings for the Americans, and look at him just negotiate his way through. So crafty. He's a genius, really, with the control of the ball.
Control of the ball, control of the chair. He sees any gap and he says it's mine, and often he's got no right to go for it at all. I really can't work out how he gets there. Bat trying to do the same. with a little bit more pace. Now, can Brewer stop him?
Brewer has made contact on the arm. They're going to award it as a continuous goal, and it's a good decision by the referees in extra time to not, of course, assess a violation and have Brewer be sitting off in the penalty box. So a great call by the referees just to allow that to be the Australian score, and they're still 4-on-4 on this field of play. Brewer has it in his basket there. In the lap, he must bounce it. Again, it's that left arm he'll use, and he is on to two wheels for a second. He's back down.
Bond stopped himself there. He thought about knocking him, and he knew he was behind, and that would potentially lead to a penalty.
The overlap for Brewer from Aoki, and again, the Americans just look a nod better in this overtime period, and Brewer has provided the impetus of that little bit of confidence, that little bit of dominance possibly. He's gone for the hits, and it's like a matador. He just opens it up there, does rally bat, and lets the bull travel right through. And you've got to be careful sometimes. We've seen these big hits lead to a very empty result at the end of it if you go too hard into a player.
Youthful exuberance from Brewer. He's got to keep his concentration. Under 20 seconds, the USA in the lead.
They call a timeout, and with 15.2, they will get the resetting of the last opportunity to score here for Australia to take us potentially to another overtime period. If the Americans can hold firm here, the gold medal is theirs again. They are the only nation to win this wheelchair rugby twice. It's the first competition in Sydney, and it was the Americans to open it up. The Australians, they beat them for that gold medal, and they win it again, beating the Australians in Beijing. Can they do it one more time in alternating Paralympics and do it here in Rio?
Coach Gumbert still with that poker face on. He gives no emotion away at all. Australia need this.
This is where you would put your money. It's Riley Bat, but he's got a problem. The clock is running. He makes the feed inside to Bond. Bond will turn it across the line for an Australian score with 1.4 seconds. And again, there might be enough time for long bomb effort here. The Americans will think about it. It's going to come in, and the clock will be fully expired as we've gone through 35 minutes of play, and we are level again at 54 goals apiece in this gold medal final. You can't ask for better than this, as they'll have a pause, and it's 3 more minutes on the clock.
O'Reilly back. Great pass to Bond to get it across, but Bond wasn't quite there. He was nearly stuck, got it across just in time, just getting the second wheel over the line. And this is how the stats look: 54 goals apiece, 9 defensive fouls. Australia not picking up one in that overtime period. The US just the 1 defensive foul. Turnovers 9-7, still quite high between the two. 1 for the Australians in that overtime period. Who is going to blink first? Who is going to take the gold?
The emotional stakes very high inside this karaoke #1 arena that has been an incredible venue. These Paralympic Games have been dubbed already as the 2nd most successful games in the history of the competition. It starts in 1960 in Rome, and it's 2008 in Beijing that they see as the most successful as the overall attendances for all of the events across. 1.8 million recorded for the attendances across these Rio Paralympic Games, and I gotta believe it's even more than that as the walk-up crowds for each of these performances. This one of the last gold medals to be presented on the final day of the Paralympics in the Olympic Park, and the crowd here getting their money's worth as we go into a double overtime period.
The sights of the Paralympics for me, looking out of the hotel window every day and seeing streams of people from below walking 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 a.m. in the morning, walking towards Olympic Park to watch these Paralympians. And what a show they have put on in all the sports, but in wheelchair rugby, one of the last sports to finish. And we're going to double overtime.
It's Aoki just getting a little bit of adhesive there on his bicep as he pulls up the protection that he has. That, of course, there'll be some rubbing on the wheel. You see in the background, Greg Smith, the former Australian player, a Paralympian, and a medalist as well, just with a wry smile with his coaching mate, Brad Deberly. You simply can't ask for better than this. It has been a showcase to South America, this wheelchair rugby tournament. It's been a showcase to the world. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, this has been absolutely outstanding. Both of the teams, the two best in the world, meet in the gold medal match, and there's nothing to decide between them. It's Aoki who has touched it last, and Australia will take control of it. They will go with this inbound now in the second overtime, and that could be a little bit of a blemish here.
Bond inbounding to bat. Have these two got enough?
It's a calm and it's a well-delivered goal again. Of course, every one of them from this man is top quality. He makes it look easy. He's got the strength and he's got the purpose about it. And he will get to 55 first for Australia. It's Aoki long though. They've left Brewer open for a moment. And that's all he needs. He creates a gap and it's right back again. A level score.
There was a slight moment of concern for Josh Brewer there because he didn't quite gather the ball as cleanly as he wanted to. On the second attempt, got it together. A little bit more stress from the American coach shown now. Can't quite keep it as together as he had. Bond's gonna roll over for the point.
Australia right now looking more comfortable with their scoring. They look as though they've just arrived into their moment now in the second overtime period. They have the 2-1 lead overall now, 56-55 for the reigning gold medal Paralympians.
Do you think that the fact the Americans couldn't put them away in that first overtime was a big psychological boost to the Australians, even though the Aussies potentially not playing to their best in that overtime period? That's stopping Aoki.
Bat, and we'll just see what they've called here officially. Bat looked as though he had slipped out of play here. And it's a defensive foul against Riley Bat. And so he will have to watch this one for a moment. And this a potential turn in events with 2 minutes and 14 seconds remaining in this overtime period. He's assessed with that foul. It'll be the Americans to have the inbound in front of this Australian bench. And 4 against 3. How will Chuck Aoki and the U.S. manage this possession? They've got Bond already wrapped up, and this is just tactics here from the U.S. Aoki goes across, and he's still wrapped up over there. The 2 low pointers for the Americans are right with him. Aoki has 21 goals, and they'll utilize just a timeout to make sure that everything is precise over at the scoring bench. Timeouts now for both the teams.
I'm surprised that the Australians haven't called upon Warne again. I'm surprised that they haven't used him to try and disrupt the Americans a bit more. I know that Bond and Bat are the sort of players that do that naturally within their game. But what Warne was offering earlier, along with the pace, was just that physical, the battering ram element. He was really hitting the Americans hard. And for the period of play he was on, they actually really fell out their patterns of play. They stopped playing the game in the way the Americans wanted to do. It may just be worth them bringing him in for a bit of time, seeing what Warne can do. I doubt they would do that at this period in the game, though.
Roddy Bat right in the mouth of this American defense. He gets away, though, and now they'll just track each other around. It'll be Bond to make this inbound. We are level, and now the Australians with control. It's Bat who gets into the opening. Aoki will have to stay with him. But Bond now has enough room in which to use the block that has been provided by Riley Bat. And he'll score the 57th goal for Australia. His 21st today. He's gone well past his average in the tournament thus far.
Superb team goal with the blocking from the Australian Naz Erdam as well in there, making sure there was a path to the goal line for Australia. Wheeler is going to Get over the line, Josh Wheeler. Bring it back to 57. There's no stopping the Americans at the moment from responding to the Australian efforts.
And this is an interesting move from Gumbert to bring back Wheeler. He took him out in favor of Brewer, and also they brought in Pudabaugh. And into extra time, he's gone back to his older player, as this is another equipment timeout. It's Bond that's going to receive the attention now, as he's blown his left tire.
But I see those changes as potentially Coach Gumbert saying, I've played my hand. It worked to a degree. Josh Brewer was having an effect on this game, but they didn't sneak over the line. Literally didn't sneak over the line when they needed to do so. I think it's one up at the moment to Australia psychologically. I know obviously currently, well, the game won't be tied now because Riley Batt makes it 58-57.
He may have there with that one forced the issue, and that could have been a gold medal ball right there. Because with the pressure on the Americans, Wheeler really needed to have caught Riley Batt early in the backcourt, and he needs to be physical against him to give the Americans a chance. This sliding through like he's on those snowy roads in Minnesota. It will be Wheeler to take it over the top. He records it, and we are back level again with 1 minute and 3 seconds to go in the second overtime.
Wheeler looked to delay. He looked to use up time, and Aoki said, no, get over the line. We need all the time we can get. He got him over quicker. Wheeler with a slight error as far as Chuck Aoki was concerned before taking the goal.
It's lobbed out in front. The angle is good, and equally the speed in which it's been received. Riley Batt will set it down for the referee. He's put 27, and you see the howl that comes from him. Again, every goal he scores to take the lead in this overtime could be the gold medal ball. Aoki comfortably across this line. There's a disparity of about 8 seconds between the game and the scoring clock. They'll try to use the majority of it here, but they can't make a mistake. If they do, it's over. Wheeler slowly in this vice grip that the Australians are applying. They're turning the screw, and this is what's happening here. Aoki's in trouble. He's got the brakes on. He's not going to be able to call a timeout. He has just done it there. He's looking to his coach, and he's probably in as good a position as you want to be, with your eyes looking right into the bench to make that call at exactly 15 seconds to go.
Look at the coaching call though. Brewer comes out and Aoki loses his options. He loses that buzz that the USA had in the first overtime period. I think that was a really bad call on the part of the USA coaching team. I think they've gifted here Australia potentially the gold medal. I just can't see where Aoki's going to go from here.
15 seconds is all that's available for the United States to hold on. They were in exactly the same position at the end of the fourth period of play, and they found a way with just under 2 seconds. Can they do a double dip of it? Or is it double trouble? Here comes Aoki. It's up to Melton. Melton's got Bond on him. Inside to Wheeler, but Wheeler has left the field of play. They call it against the Americans. He leaves the court before the ball's been received. Australia with the inbound inside of 3.6 seconds. They will play from in front of their own bench. It's up to Batt. Batt will take it across the line, and it's over. They will win the gold medal. Australia, the first team with back-to-back gold medals in the wheelchair rugby. And what a moment as they do it in extra time, the second period. Whoa! Gold medal glory for Australia.
What a finish to that one. Riley Batt racing away, punched the ball away. The Americans took Josh Wheeler out. It meant they had to force the game. Wheeler couldn't get over there. Well, he got his wheel over, but it was too early. He didn't have the ball in his hands. Wheeler will be gutted, but I have to say, I think the American coaching call backfired on them. Wheeler potentially was not the player to have in at that time over Josh Brewer.
My goodness, we saw ourselves a classic in Rio as these two nations went blow for blow. And there you see it from Riley Bat. He is looking injured potentially, or just gasping for air. And I think maybe he just fell there at the end when the ball got ahead of him. He knew how much time was there, but the tactics, this game has been dubbed now combat chess with bumps and bruises. And we never see these athletes show when they might have been hurt. When they fall, when they go the distance as they do, their lungs burning, their arms have got to be aching. And they play 5 games at the best of their ability across 5 days. And Riley Bat right now looks as though he has a shoulder injury. He will have to take some time to recover from that. We're most only assuming because of the grimacing on his face. But a gold medal is worth that extra assertion. It's, in fact, he has done that. And look at the celebrations from the Australian coaching staff. This is their moment for glory. And look at Chris Bond pumping the heart and again pumping this crowd. The Brazilians have loved it. The Australians right behind this penalty box are being saluted as well. They are the best again.
Riley Bat really does look hurt. He's in, well, floods of tears by the looks of things as well. Essentially that last plate where he ended up out the chair. The Americans, they'll be absolutely gutted to finish silver after all that exertion, all that thought. It came down to the last few seconds, but it's the Australians who are the ones celebrating again. They've won the gold again. Bat and Bond were phenomenal throughout. They faltered at times. That lad Warren, what a performance from him. The youngster, and he didn't have long in the game, but the time he had, well, it made a significant impact to his team.
This is Ryan Scott enjoying the moment already. And it has been that relationship with this crowd as the Americans will just listen. And it's such a privilege to be inside these coaching and player formations.
Rather muted from the American players. The ritual in a time of defeat. And the response from the players, you can tell the pain and the comparison with Nazard, and look at his face. David Moore absolutely delighted as he unfurls the Australian flag. These Paralympic Games really have been of the highest quality. These two teams taking it all the way. Josh Wheeler, well, he will feel emotion for weeks, for months, potentially for years to come about this game. He was there right at the last. He just couldn't quite get the ball over the line.
Wheeler holding back the emotion, as you could see. And Dubberly, he takes his moment in style. As they're across the scoring in this game, Chris Bond with his best game of the tournament. He saves it for the last. With the scores today, he has officially 21 goals, and that was massive to run shotgun with Riley Bat.
USA just 7 defensive fouls, turnovers. They were better than the Australians as well with just the 8. They're just getting 3 steals. And look at that, what did it come down to? 10-9 in overtime. Well, we said in the bronze medal match the first quarter made all the difference. Here it literally came down to that 1 point in overtime, and there are the final rankings of the Wheelchair Rugby at Rio 2016.
Australia take gold, United States of America silver. Japan will take the bronze. They beat the Canadians earlier on today, and they looked impressive in doing so. We await the presentations of the medals still to come, as the athletes will just reconvene in their changing areas, and they will all come out on the podium in a moment, and a privilege for each and every one of these fans to see it live. The final acknowledgement of this tournament. And the end of this tournament has finally come, and we've determined who are number 1 and number 2. It went the full distance and even further, as ultimately in the end, the gold medal from London will be renewed and returned back to Australia. They will take it and be awarded in a few moments' time. 59-58 over the United States of America.
Rugby Tournament.
Senhoras e senhores, a cerimônia de premiação do rugby em cadeira de rodas dos Jogos Paralímpicos Rio 2016.
And the lead team to come out of the players' changing area will be the bronze medalists, the Japanese team. And what a moment for them, their first ever medal at these games. It's in the first ever in the wheelchair rugby. And you can see with the smiles on their face just how good they feel. They've been waiting to come out and to receive them. Nagasato. He was a part of the Japanese team that finished 4th in London. And now one better in Rio.
Japanese rugby really flying at the moment. Going towards Tokyo 2020, they could not have asked for a better chance to showcase their sport. Mr. Warren, the Australians. So hard as a silver medalist to come out and feign how happy you are when you're not really, that you've lost the game.
And the flags of the respective nations are already in position. It'll be the presentations of the medals, and they're the dignitaries ready. This, the honor of the personnel in position to place those flags up on the rostrum. They will hang high above inside this karaoke #1 arena.
Governing board member of the International Paralympic Committee.
Membro do Conselho Executivo do Comitê Paralímpico Internacional, Senhor John Peterson.
And Secretary General of the International Wheelchair Rugby Federation.
Secretário-Geral da Federação Internacional de Rugby em Cadeira de Rodas, Sr. Aaron Lane.
Accompanied by
Acompanhado por
World Rugby Executive Board member.
membro do Conselho Executivo da World Rugby, Sr. Bob Layton.
So it'll be the bronze medal awarded first. And the medal presenter will be Mr. Patrick Jarvis, the IPC governing board member. They have the gift presenter will be Mr. Luis Riff, who is the Rio 2016 legal director. They will be the first responsible.
Bronze medal,
Medalha de bronze,
Japan.
Japão.
And Japan take their rightful position up onto the podium. It's the first medal that this nation has won in wheelchair rugby. It's a bronze, and they couldn't be more proud. They beat the Canadians, who were the reigning silver medalists from London 4 years ago. And all 12 of the players in position. As the medals will be presented there, it's Patrick Jarvis, who is the IPC governing board member that we see on the screen.
Masayuki
The team that took the USA to the closest to games, lost by a point. Lost also in the semi-final to the Australians by 6. On home soil in 4 years, you really fancy them to get even higher up the podium.
Ikazaki outstanding in that matchup today, and his best game of the tournament for sure. He's a superstar. He'll be counted on again in 4 years' time in Tokyo. Nagasato to make sure that he's got his feathers inside of that ribbon.
Obviously took him a while to get it perfect.
Shimakawa has been in the side since 2004 in Athens. Shoji not a lot of time in this tournament of play, but a very valuable member. Kishi was right in the wars in that bronze medal match.
Takahisa Yamaguchi. Yukinobu
Ike, what a talent and a new arrival onto the Paralympic scene in wheelchair rugby for Japan.
Yeah, switching sports from wheelchair basketball after 10 years playing that sport, and what transferable skills across the great sport of wheelchair rugby. And he really was an asset to this Japanese side.
Mr. Louise Reef, who is the Rio 2016 director, as you see, will give these Japanese players the Rio mascot as a memory of their time here. They have been wonderful hosts, the Brazilians and this Paralympic committee. And their moment for Japan to be officially recognized with the bronze medals.
Silver medal.
Medalha de prata.
The United States of America.
Estados Unidos da América.
And the USA take their rightful position. They'll still be smarting. They go to double overtime against the Australians, and they come up short by a goal. Great experience for a team that has rejuvenated its personnel quite a bit since their gold medal performance in Beijing 8 years ago. They take a bronze in London. It's a silver in Rio. Scaturo, solid. Chuck Aoki, the captain, gets his medal. Mr. John Peterson, the IPC governing board member, presenting these medals to all of the Americans.
And the Americans will be disappointed because they were so close to outthinking the Australians today. And it really was such a spectacle for the game.
It's Wheeler to take his silver now. And he should bear the responsibility. It never lies on one man's shoulder in team sport. Maybe something he will have to reflect upon a little bit, but the Australians applied pressure, and that's what the name of the game is.
Here, here. Totally, Josh Wheeler was magnificent today. The slip at the end was a team error in real terms.
Fredette, a very effective player coming in for the U.S. And this man, what a bright future. Josh Brewer, outstanding with 11 goals today. He looked to be possibly the answer to take the Americans across the line. And his young gun running mate, Tori Pudabaugh, the two of them will lead this American side for sure into those games in Tokyo. And Agamar Sanctos will present the gifts. Another director of these Paralympic Games in Rio.
Brewer and Pudabaugh at the core of the US team, heading on 4 years from now. Both such youngsters. That man has been superb here, Chukwuoki. But the youngsters at the end on the left-hand side of the shot will no doubt form a massive part of this team in Tokyo 4 years on.
The Americans before the match with 2 golds, 2 bronze, and now they have a silver. They're the only team in this wheelchair rugby to medal in every single one of the wheelchair rugby competitions at these Paralympic Games since its inception in Sydney in 2000.
Gold medal and Paralympic champion.
Medalha de ouro e campeões paralímpicos.
Australia!
first team in wheelchair rugby to win back-to-back gold medals at the Paralympic Games. They will now tie the Americans with those 2 golds overall. And they do it in magnificent style in London and here in Rio, as Naz Erdem, in his 5th Paralympic Games, will claim a 4th medal.
And Erdem, what defending from him today. Riley back gets his goal.
And a golden smile as well from the golden boy of the land down under, Roddy Bat, Joshua Hose, another veteran of the side. He was a part of them in London. So was this man here, Jason Lee. Fawcett, this a golden moment for him. And Chris Bond returns to the gold medal position as he makes up the other half of the Killer Bees on this Australian side. Bat and Bond together are lethal, and they prove they are the best. Ryan Scott, the captain of this Australian side.
And it was a captain's performance in the final, his defence unwavering.
It's Mr. Ken Soden, the IWRF Vice President, that is presenting these medals at the moment. That's the International Wheelchair Rugby Federation. And he's being followed up here by Mr. Bob Latham, the Wheelchair Rugby Executive Board member, who presents the distinctive mascots to the Australians of Rio 2016.
Gold hair to match the gold medals.
A great smile, another bright spark on this Australian side, and will be a part of this future. No doubt we will see him again in 4 years' time. A great tournament for him. He comes in and provides wonderful service in the early starting point of this match for Australia and helps them to build right on through. We didn't get to see Matt Lewis. He is another 3.5 classification for this Australian side. And that's because Roddy Bat carried the mail for the entirety of this match. It's now time for the national anthem of Australia. It's a gold medal for Australia. The gold and green shines at the top of the podium again in the wheelchair rugby. And there, the face of the sport as they acknowledge the over 14,500 fans in this building and those thousands and potentially millions watching around the world. Wheelchair rugby is alive and well, and only 5 tournaments have been played. And the Australians now 2 gold medals in those competitions. The United States, they equally have 2. They are the only team to ever medal across all of these tournaments. And Japan, their first one ever. It's a bronze.
It speaks volumes of the gold medal match. The amount of people that have stayed in this stadium, stayed in the arena to cheer these 3 teams on and welcome them as Paralympic medalists. what a competition, what a gold medal match. Those guys can be incredibly proud of what they've achieved, and the Australians with the gold medal, well, smiles all over their faces.
That Joshua Hose, with these moments where they are on the stage being acknowledged, and a little chomp from the captain to see if it is in fact the real deal. Paralympians for life, and now Paralympian bronze medalist, Japan. And there is Matt Lewis. We didn't see him in the gold medal final. He has a gold medal though, and he is vital on this team. He was waiting in the wings as the understudy to Riley Batt, should he have been required, and he could have equally picked up the ball if he needed to for the green and gold today. And they're the entire team of the officials, the spare personnel as well.
You've got to acknowledge them. They have such an impact across the 4-year build-up. They all work really, really hard, and it's so important to acknowledge the squad as a whole and the team as a whole.
Well, these are the closing moments, and one of the last medals to have been presented in Rio. The final day of the wheelchair rugby competition coincides with the final day of these Paralympic Games in Rio. Many of us didn't know what the Games would provide. As we walk away from them now, we have seen a Paralympic Games for history. It is now gold again for Australia in the wheelchair rugby. They set history as they are back-to-back champions, and they've done it in style. They went deep, and they did it in overtime. And they will reign supreme for all from Rio. We hope you've enjoyed the tournament and us sharing it with you. It's been a magical ride.